Hi and welcome back to Garden Ninja for the January garden tour. As you may be able to tell, it's blooming freezing, but there's still plenty to be done in the garden, and I'm going to be giving you all of my top tips, tricks and hacks as to what you can do in your gardens in January. So come on, let's get cracking. If you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you hit the red subscribe button below, where you'll get access to over 120 garden design hints, tips and hacks. And best of all, it's free, so subscribe today. So you may remember last year I planted a load of snowdrops and all sorts of bluebells in the green, which means that you plant them after they've flowered whilst they've still got green growth on them. And it may seem a bit odd that you plant them after they've flowered, but they have a better chance of uptake if you plant certain bulbs in the green, such as snowdrops. So let's go and have a look at how they're getting on. Now, I don't know about you, but this year I seem to have bulbs in certain parts of the garden that are already in flower, in particular snowdrops. But then I've got the same bulb somewhere else in the garden that's a good 2 or 3 weeks behind. And it does make you scratch your head. And a few of you have been in touch with me, so let's explore that a bit further. So a number of you have messaged me asking about spring bulbs and when should they flower. Some people seem to be getting really concerned that maybe the snowdrops haven't come up yet, or even in one case that they've had daffodils flowering in December. And my advice is this: bulbs will flower when they're good and ready, but with the freakish weather patterns that we've been having and the impact of climate change, it means that those flowering windows are moving either way. I planted some snowdrops here 2 years ago that haven't even come up yet, whereas last year, by now they were in full flower. So be patient, be kind on your gardens and yourselves, and they will flower when they're ready. But don't get too caught up looking on social media thinking, gosh, why aren't my snowdrops in flower? It will happen. So whilst I've cut back a number of herbaceous perennials, I always leave my grasses until February. They just give a bit more structure in these winter months. If you turn around, or if I turn around, you'll see some of the beds where I've cleared the herbaceous stuff can look a bit barren, but by leaving these grasses, you just get that structure, and it's great for wildlife as well, because I've seen loads of birds pecking away at the seed heads and getting some much needed nutrients in these really cold, chilly months. Now I'm at the top near the Wildflower meadow where I've got my 5 grafted heritage apple trees, and you may remember that I planted these last year, but there's a problem. A few of them have developed what we call dual leaders. Now when you're pruning new fruit trees, you want to always have one main leader and all the other branches then sort of diverge from that. If you've got 2 dual leaders, what you can end up with is a tree that has almost like a V sign. And in heavy wind or snow, you might find that they splinter and break apart. So ideally, you only ever want one. But I think it's going to warrant its own video because it's quite specialist. But if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments below and I'll happily create that video to show you how to formatively prune new apple trees such as these. So let's go and have a look at the leaf mould bin, because last month I was filling it full of all the fallen leaves that dropped around the garden, and it was full to burst, but as you can see now it started to drop, and that's because all those leaves are slowly starting to compress and break down. Now leaf mould will take about 12 months to 18 months in this kind of bin to fully break down, but it's beautiful stuff. And if you missed last month's, or you don't even know what I'm talking about with leaf mould, then make sure you check out my guide as to how to make it, because it's a brilliant way of recycling all your leaves. But I think I'll come back to this month on month just to show you how much it drops, because you need an awful lot of leaves to create a relatively small amount of leaf mould. So it's always better to get as many as you can and stuff them either into reused compost sacks and then hide them around the garage, or in a leaf mould bin, because it's just beautiful, beautiful soil improver. Let's go and have a look at something else now. So take a look here. If you watched my video last year as to how to make a fire pit, you'll probably recognise this. Now, it's completely frozen over, so it's not looking very warm at the moment. But it does make an important point that although this is a fire pit, it also doubles up as a water bowl. And this has been full throughout the autumn and winter, and I've seen all sorts of birds and insects using this for a quick drink. Now, it's frozen today, but it does show you how multifunctional it is. So if you're going to build something like this, it's not just a fire pit, it can also be a water feature. So we've had a really frosty, cold start to the year here in the UK, and as you can probably see and hear from my feet, the ground is frozen. It's really cold. There's a scattering of both frost and snow. And a lot of people ask me, what can we do in the garden during January? Whilst there are plenty of things you can do, when the conditions are like this, you really should avoid doing anything with the ground. If I was to try and dig today, weed, or plant anything, the ground is just too compacted, it's too solid, and you will damage it. Plants won't take, weeding will be a pain in the backside. So in days like today, you're better off inside planning what you're going to do when the ground thaws out rather than trying to garden at all. So just sit back, enjoy it. You've got this gorgeous view of all this frosting. So make yourself a brew and just try and relax. So I'm back inside, nice and warm with Barry at the drawing board. But there's still plenty you can do in January. January is a prime time to get out there and start winter pruning fruit trees or any other deciduous tree. And it's the best time because you can see the skeletal outline of the tree and then decide on which branches may need to be removed or trimmed back. If the ground's not frozen, it's a good month to get out there and start tackling those perennial weeds sooner rather than later, because the quicker you get them out, the less chance they have of taking over your flower beds as soon as spring arrives. So it's a great time to get that done. So although the weather outside may be rather frightening and a bit glib, there's still plenty that you can be doing in your gardens and more importantly in planning what you're going to do this year. If you've liked this video, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel where there are hundreds of garden design hints, tips and hacks to help you make your gardens awesome. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. I've been Garden Ninja, happy gardening.